All right. Hello, my friends. Wow, what a week it's been. How are you doing today? Are you having a good start of the day? I hope so. One thing I've learned is the best thing to do when I wake up after I do my normal bathroom routine and brush my teeth and so on is I go outside. I go walk around the yard or the food forest in my case. Now, most of you don't have a food forest yet, but you probably have somewhere where you can go walk outside where there might be some nature, right? I hope you do. And if you don't, then make that one of your goals to move to a place that has a healthy ecosystem, a healthy natural environment, and then build that around you, right? If you don't have it yet, then start building, start planting seeds and start creating the well, you might be in a condo on the 20th floor in New York. You might be um, somewhere where you don't have it yet, but plant the seed, the idea that you can have it. Right? So many people have lost faith in their own abilities to manifest things. My friends, you can manifest anything that your mind can conceive and believe. Now, after some failures, you might not believe what you conceive, but that's going to change, right? As you get present and start focusing on these things, right? Do not watch the news the first thing in the morning or the first thing the last thing before bed. Don't watch anything that puts your body in a fight or flight mode, right? And for a lot of people, it's not fight or flight, it's paralyzed. You get scared and concerned when you see the crazy stuff going on the news. And my friends, that is not by accident, it's by design. The news is a strategy that is owned by the same people that produce all the poisons of our world. It's a strategy to control your mind and your actions. And they're very good at it. They're very, very good at it. They've studied neurolinguistics. In fact, there's a document called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And this document came out, I think it was found in the 70s. And it was commissioned by one of our good antagonists in the show, in the story of life, Rockefeller, I believe, or was it Rothschild? It's all the same families anyway. Sometimes they change names, and Clinton and whatever. They keep changing stuff, but the bottom line is it's the same families. And above them, I don't know what, if it's something, but the point is, over 100 years ago, these families got together and they commissioned a study on the most influential rags of the day and radio shows and then TV shows. But anyway, back over 100 years ago, what they did, in fact, there were 123 media sources studied at that time. And what they did was they bought them all of the most influential media of the day. They invested and purchased them. So what we see is not news. What we see is a strategy to control your mind and your actions, right? And yes, Hollywood is part of that strategy, right? CIA, do you know that they're the biggest producers in Hollywood? Yeah, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, is the biggest producer, or they have the most influence of anybody in Hollywood. Wait a minute, what? Yeah, James Bond and all the movies where the government comes in to save the day, and the foreshadowing, right? I just saw a commercial. It was on one of our Telegram groups where there's a TV show or movie coming out about Civil War. And it's all theater, my friends. You've got the big T narrative on one side and the big B narrative on the other side. And you've got the perfect two characters and the narratives that go along with the characters to create one thing. And tell me if you feel this, if you notice this, if you see this being true. Divide and conquer. Divide. Create division. If you watch one of the major news channels, the lies channels, right, you'll see all of the information about one of the characters being like the most evil person in history, right? And then if you watch the other one, you see all of the information about this other character, the president, being really the most evil character and stupid and, all these things. It's all theater, my friends. And the solution to all of it is so joyfully simple that it eludes our thoughts because we've been so programmed. Right? This past weekend was absolutely incredible. Or this past week, I flew up to Minnesota to handle some stuff for my mom's celebration of life. My mom passed about a month ago, and I want to share with you something. There's no such thing as death. There's only transition. The energy that is my mom, the wisdom, the connection is here even more than it was. In fact, a real quick side story. I was sitting right below where I'm sitting now. I'm on, I'll show you where I'm at. I'm on the deck of our house, and that's, it's not finished yet, but it'll be finished here in the not too distant future. Anyway, I was sitting downstairs here, and my mom had been bedridden for a couple of weeks, and we could tell that she was ascending very quickly. Her body had released this kind of like a sticky, gooey sweat. So we woke up in the morning, went and grabbed her hand and said good morning to her, and her skin felt different. And I've heard this is normal right before passing. Anyway, she was laying there for 2 weeks, and when I was sitting down here, all of a sudden I was just breathing and being present, practicing meditation and presence, and all of a sudden I got this very direct message: go see your mom. Right? It was more of it wasn't like words that came out. It was just thoughts that came in my mind, and they were of my mom. And I felt that there was something to it. So I got up immediately. I walked in and I grabbed her hand, told her I loved her, and she ascended right there. It was like within minutes, just a couple minutes. So thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for that. And wow, that story about my mom got me off track. Oh, so where was I? Well, anyway, I went to I went to Minnesota to kind of organize her celebration of life. And then I drove to the Red Pill Conference in Rapid City, South Dakota, about an 8.5-hour drive. And I've been a speaker, a keynote speaker, and just a general speaker at a lot of events, a lot of incredible events, the Next Steps Conference and Exit and Build, and just tons more. And I love these events. I love speaking. In fact, if anybody out there would like me to speak and to share the solution to all the world's biggest problems with even a small group, if you've got 5 friends and you want me to get on a Zoom call, or if you've got 50,000 people and you want me to share this message, this is what I'm here to do, is share this message. My title is the Chief Storyteller at Food Forest Abundance, by the way. So it's built into who I am. So anyway, the Red Pill Conference, I was not listed as a speaker at this event, and I had 2 goals. I set 2 intentions for this event, and one, most important, was to meet as many people as possible, to connect with as many people, and to collaborate. Right? If you've heard me talk lately, you've heard one of the concepts that is most relevant in my mind right now. And it was Martin Luther King who said, "Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war." That hit me and struck me and just enveloped me, actually, when I first heard it. And I've been focusing on that and adding that layer to all the layers that we're already putting to the, sharing with the world on how we literally catalyze a shift that changes the world. And anyway, so my other goal was to speak on stage to everybody at the Red Pill Conference. Now, this is one of the most established and well-organized conferences about freedom and all the things happening in the world. G. Edward Griffin, who I got to spend some time with, he wrote the book The Creature from Jekyll Island back, I don't know, quite a while back, like I think in the 80s or so. And that book was about the Federal Reserve and how the whole thing was created by a bunch of banksters and politicians, and it's all a private entity. It's a scam, right? It's not. That's why we can't audit it. That's why we're national debt. That's why the dollar is not attached to gold or silver or anything. It's why the whole system is radically unsustainable and failing. So anyway, my other goal is to get up on stage and speak at this event. And I love when I share my goals with people. People are like, oh no, there's a schedule. It's tight. Usually people go over, there's just no extra time. Right. I mean, I knew if I would have asked somebody, that's what they would have said. So anyway, I walk in to the event after driving 8.5 hours, and my partners on the Earth Council, two of our partners are there. Pat Miletich, 5-time UFC world champ and now soil savior, and Dr. Will Spencer, who has created a compost tea brewing system that infuses like 1,300 different living microorganisms in this compost tea. And he also uses biodynamics and oxygen infusion. And this stuff is gold. It's better than gold. Like literally, this is just incredible living stuff. And by the way, it's not alchemy. It's alive. Like if you consider the whole thing, like this whole system, if you like that word alchemy, great. But this is very, it's just a living system of living organisms that eat the toxins, the heavy metals, and they change them, they transform them to bioavailable minerals and fatty acids. And that's a big deal by itself. I mean, that's why I'm so excited to be partners with these guys and Dr. Wolf and a bunch of other amazing people. And you, by the way. Anyway, so I walk in and Pat and Doc Will say, "Jim, good timing. Let's go." I'm like, "Where are we going?" "On stage." It was so perfect. So we each got 3 minutes, and we shared with, I got to share with the audience everything that we're all about, the general, the highlights in those 3 minutes. And that led to dozens of people coming up to me and saying, "Jim, I love what you said. Let's collaborate. Let's work together. Let's do this and that." It was amazing. The whole thing was amazing. And if you haven't been, by the way, to some of these kind of freedom conferences that are out there, I suggest you go. If you're looking for your tribe, your Braveheart Nation, I suggest you go. If Dr. Wolf has an event, go to it. The people that are at these events are our people. They're awesome. They're wonderful. They're loving. They want to collaborate. They want to connect because, well, I've been kind of singing this song for 25 years, but really intensely for the last 17 years. But 17 years ago is when I really found out that the whole system is a scam. And in fact, I watched a show called Zeitgeist. It's out there somewhere. And it showed Building 7, which happened on 9/11, falling into its own footprint at free fall speed. And it did not get hit by an airplane. Compute that in your beautiful brains, right? And when I saw that, and it was quite a bit away from buildings 1 and 2, right, the Twin Towers, and there was another building in between it, and it happened to house all of the government institutions. It was 46 stories. It was a whole New York City block, 46-story, huge building. Zoop, free fall speed. That was the one that woke me up. That said, there's no way that's possible. And then I did the research and found they had all the details, the nanothermite. They have so many witnesses saying, oh yeah, it was a series of explosions and it was demoed. It was a demolition. They even have professional demolition people, MIT people. They even have whole legislations in other countries saying on the record and proving that it was a demo. But anyway, don't want to get too off track. But the bottom line is I woke up. And the wake up process, by the way, it's not just a boom, one and done. Not for most people, not for me. Right? It's a series of awarenesses, of ideas, of aha moments. And then when we start learning to look for the triggers and these aha moments and start asking new questions, right? This is so awesome. When you get in the habit of asking questions instead of affirmations, right? Questions are infinitely more impactful than affirmations. Affirmations are great. Questions are next level, right? So if you're having any struggles in any area of your life, ask a question that is the opposite of the struggle, that is directly towards what you want, right? If somebody, you're not getting along with somebody, or let's say they leave you or you leave them, ask the question, what's okay about this or what's good about this? And then get to asking the question, what's great about this? How does this free my energy and my time up? And so on and so on, right? Ask the new questions, right? A lot of people, more than ever in the history of the world, by percentage, people are suffering right now, right? If you suffer along with them, will you help them? No. You might have a friend there that feels like you're empathizing with them. And you might want to, empathize with them just a little bit by design, by intention, to get rapport. And then once you have that rapport, or you might already have it, then elevate the energy, the frequency, the thought, the conversation, the words. Start asking that person new questions. Because, well, a lot of people are suffering. And I would say, in a way, we're all those people, right? I think somebody, I think it was Buddha, said life is suffering. I never got that. That never made any sense to me, because I have loved life. For the most part, life has been amazing. So I just clicked off when I heard, oh, life is suffering. No, it's not. It's wonderful. Well, relative to what it could be, relative to who we are at a deep spiritual connected level, I get it now. Life is typically suffering relative to when we let go of the ego, when we let go of the need to control, when we let go of fear, then there's no more suffering. So, in what areas are you still concerned? What areas do you still have fear? Fear, false evidence appearing real. You've probably heard the acronym and you probably go, it's just a silly acronym. Well, it's really not. It actually nails it. Fear is a contraction of awareness, of presence, and of faith. And I have had many people debate me on this and argue with me. But Jim, fear is needed. Otherwise, we will die of something. And I'm like, no. Fear is only a mechanism to bring awareness. If you can use the waves of fear. In fact, I'll share a story with you where I had a wave that could be called fear, but it was gone in a breath. So I was standing over here. You might have heard this already, but it's worth sharing. I was standing on the other side of the food forest here, and I got a call from my partner. And he said, Jim, there's a man here with a badge and a clipboard, and he's asking to see the building permits for your houses. We've now built 11 houses. 9 of them are complete. And we started 15, 16 months ago. I've been waiting for this moment for a while, not knowing what to expect, because we did not ask for permission to do the right thing, right? The EPA, the government, they will allow us to use poisons on our land. They will allow us to cut and kill everything. They have lost our confidence, and they have lost the right to tell us what to do because they're killing the world. So when I first got that call, I all of a sudden felt a wave of adrenaline, kind of anxiety. And I stood up, I looked up, I took a deep breath, and I breathed in the spirit, and I was present again. And I said, God, whatever you have in store for me, I am here, and I am present, and I'm all in, complete faith. I walked up to this fella, and I turned on my camera. And this is important, my friends. If you're going to take a stand, don't do so in private. Don't do so behind the scenes. Don't do so under the table or any of those things. Take a stand with the full faith and courage and armor of God as your witness. And then I layer the strategies in. So I turned on the camera and I walked up to this fella and I said, hi, my name is Jim Gale. What's your name? I said, my name's Alexi. I said, well, it's nice to meet you, Alexi. And I'm recording this conversation so we don't mix up any words. How did you get permission to come on our property? Implied consent is not granted. And he said, well, the gate was open and I will leave if you want me to. That's pretty cool. The way he responded was with humility and sincerity. And while he was representing an evil structure, he was not evil. He was simply doing a job that he was told to do and that he probably thought had some value. And it could, but not when it's done by force and violence. But anyway, so I said, well, he said, I'll leave if you want me to. I said, okay, but before you leave, I'd like to show you and explain to you what we're doing here and what we are all about. So I said, you want to walk over to the food forest, which was like 50 yards from where we were standing. You could see, I mean, it was this jungle of food coming right out of the sand, right? Well, now it's not just sand. Now it's good soil, but it was just sand 26 months ago. So that's how fast this can happen. So we walked over to the food forest. We've got this epic statue that you might have seen if you've seen any of our videos, but it represents noncompliance, civil disobedience with force and violence. And I showed him the food forest. And I explained to him what I explained earlier, what your government, not my government, will allow me to do as a slave is to do harm to this land. I will not do that. In fact, you have lost the respect of the masses. Instead, I am here as a steward of this land. It is my duty to protect and to serve this land. It is my duty for my posterity and for all that I love in this incredible world to do what's good, to add life and to create and manifest and build this ecosystem, to attract the birds and the butterflies and the bees and all of God's creation, all of these incredible creatures. He got tears in his eyes. He said, I will never bother you again. And I'm not the head cheese, but if I can help it, nobody in my office will bother you either. Thanks for doing what you're doing. And we have been friends ever since. My friends, it's time, as Martin Luther King said, and Gandhi and others, civil disobedience, strategic non-compliance is the way. And when you add on the service of stewardship and of sharing ideas and solutions with your community, with your friends and family, starting at home, starting in your own heart and mind, it's time to say, no, I do not comply with this evil system. Take out the poisons. Number one, take out the poisons. And what is the ultimate poison? We talked about it earlier. It's fear. Fear and shame and humiliation and pride and envy, gluttony, greed, lust, wrath, sloth. It's all by design. Turn off the news and recognize how you feel when you watch or listen to anybody talk. If you feel uplifted at the end, if you feel elevated, if you feel a higher frequency, vibration, energy, if you have a smile, if you are motivated and inspired and enthusiastic, or inspirited, then that's the right path, my friends. If you feel stressed, in fact, I'm going to share this right now. This idea of controlled opposition. Have you ever heard that? If you're in the conspiracy world, if you're in the conspiracy fact world, right? What's the difference between a conspiracy and the truth? 6 months. Nowadays, it used to be 16 years, right? And before that, it was even longer when the truth came out. Now the truth is coming out everywhere. I mean, even mainstream media is talking about how bad these synthetic chemicals are that they're trying to mandate and force us through humiliation and all these different NLP strategies of deceptions. Now it's coming out fast. So this idea of controlled opposition, I've heard so many people say that Tucker Carlson and Bobby Kennedy, and by the way, I met and sat down with Bobby Kennedy, and we had a fantastic talk. He agreed with everything I shared with him. And Joe Rogan and, all these famous people, they're all controlled opposition. Even Alex Jones is controlled opposition. I would say that that's absolutely true, but in a very different way than most people are aware of. They don't get together with groups of people. Now, some people do. There are some people in Hollywood, there are some people that literally signed over, and through the use of trauma and the use of videos doing horrible things, these things have happened, they are real. But most of these people out there who are talking about all the bad things going on in the world, the World War III narrative and all these things, they are controlled not by some group of people that's saying, you got to talk about this today. No, they're controlled like I am, like you are, like we all are, by our own ignorance and lack of awareness and fear. That's the control mechanism that we all have at times. We are all controlled opposition until we're not. And how do we not be controlled opposition? Presence and faith. When we are fully in the now, right? Eckhart Tolle's book or tape series, The Power of Now, For practically 10 years, I listened to that. Probably 50-60% of my radio time was the Power of Now. And the other 40-50% was some other Alan Watts or some other great speaker, right? Dr. Wolf and Tony Robbins back in the day, and many more. A lot of people say Tony Robbins is controlled opposition. Nah, he's not. He's just ignorant to what the solutions are, right? I'm ignorant in infinite ways. So that's not an insult. It's just a fact. We are all ignorant in infinite ways. Embrace your ignorance. I embrace my ignorance, right? In fact, the next phase for my life, as far as things I'm passionate about, is I'm going to learn how to cook. I don't know how to cook right now. I mean, hardly. I can heat things up real well, and I can, when I get into putting something together, I can listen to some ingredients and watch a YouTube video on how to put things together. In fact, Dr. Wolf on Braveheart Nation we're gonna have a lot of good resources here. It's gonna be awesome. But anyway, there are resources everywhere about this. So I'm gonna learn how to cook, how to take this incredible, amazing amount of food that we have all over the place. Like, in fact, I'll show you around a little bit for those of you who haven't seen. Oh, right. So now this is going to be a colloidal silver, a 2-layer pool, right? The first layer is going to be more of kind of a traditional looking pool with tiles, but it will have living plant filters on the side of it here. On probably on both sides, there'll be a living plant filter system. And then it's going to have a mini waterfall. And then down there, it's going to be a pond, right? And that's going to be, and then the pond will have a beach to it. And then going, so all this area, there was nothing here. We just started putting these fruit trees in the ground. So there's avocados and peaches and sugar cane and sweet potatoes and longans. And what is that one? I can't see that one that well from here. Another lychee, I think, and lemons. And then over here, we've got loads of plums and jaboticaba and bananas and more sugar cane and more peaches and avocados and mangoes. Look at the mangoes. So let's just say you have a 1/10 of an acre, right? You could stack 100 different edible perennial plants in a 1/10 of an acre. And there's a chicken walking through. I don't know if you can see that over there, but we have chickens walking through. Those chickens, we've got about 12, 13 chickens. Well, we've got about 40 or 50, but just in this area, we have some, and they produce so much food, and they also eat the bugs. They eat the larvae. They help with fly populations and so on. So we don't have any poisons in this system. And I was gone for a week. And the amount of green that has come up just in the last week is phenomenal. Now, this isn't fancy, and we don't want it to be. We're letting nature do what nature does, right? And then when we want to make it fancy, once we get the pool done and all the construction done, then we're going to manicure it a little bit and have it be more of a fancier looking manicured yard. But the point is, you don't have to manicure this stuff. If you just let this go, this would turn into a jungle of food, just like the Amazon rainforest was a designed food forest. Over here, we've got our grass-fed cows. And see this pond right here? This pond is surrounded by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fruit trees. We have about 240 different species of food-producing plants. And then in that pond, we've put 7 species of fish in the pond. We have sunnies and crappies and bass and catfish, mosquito minnows and fatheads and shiners. And then we take the water out of the pond and we use it to fertilize and irrigate, which is to fertigate the food forest. And at the beginning, it's important to do that because it's a baby. You need to take care of a baby. But after it gets established, which is usually a year to 2, then you don't have to do anything anymore. Nature or God, right, does all the work. Isn't that amazing? I mean, this system that we live in, it's my dog Lily. Hey, you doing what you doing, girl? Yeah, you go over here, good girl. Is infinite abundance. Right? This idea that you've all heard of the Garden of Eden, was that a real place? I'm not going to debate that because I don't know for sure. I didn't live there. Maybe I did, but I'm not aware of it in this ego. So it doesn't matter if it was or doesn't, if it wasn't. The idea is real. We live in it. We've designed it and we are living in what I imagine would be a really badass Garden of Eden. I mean, it's paradise and you can have it too. Everybody can have this. This is the way that the world will be all over. It'll maybe take 7 to 10 years. It's going to happen fast because the systems are collapsing. They're falling apart. They're being destroyed by design. The CBDCs are coming up fast. The central bank digital currencies, this whole narrative of the mark of the beast where you have to do what they tell you. Otherwise, they shut off your money. It'll be attached to the carbon credit narrative. It's already happening, right? They want to put this tree of knowledge of good and evil, this apple with a bite out of it in your hand or your forehead. And so don't do any of that, right? Do you want to choose artificial intelligence or God's intelligence? I like to say AI versus GI in this game, right? When GI is truly everything anyway, it's just a game. And when we treat it like a game and enjoy it like a game and observe it like a game, then we can have more fun with it, right? Let go of the fear, let go of the concern, the worry, and all of the emotions that you watch when you watch some Hollywood. I mean, it's the once in a while I see a headline or a title on a Hollywood show, and I'll click on it just to see what the psyop of the day is, right? I mean, it's once you see it, it's freaking hilarious. It is so pervasive in all of the messaging. Now, I'm laughing about it, but when you're 3 years old and you see a Disney show that promotes hot dogs and cake, now, hot dogs and cake can both be healthy, actually. But are they? If you go to the store and buy hot dogs and cake and that's all your kid eats is hot dogs and cake, will that be healthy? Of course not. Because you're probably not seeing and finding organic, grass-fed, poison-free hot dogs and poison gluten-free cake, right? Now, if you are, good. But be aware that the psyop goes deep. The Disney shows, they're promoting a birthday with hot dog and cake. And my daughter says, I want some hot dog and cake. Well, I taught her about, she's 4 years old, going on 5, by the way. And she says, Dada, let's go outside treasure hunting for nature's candy. She is a wise little girl. And these kids, they're so smart, but they've been programmed. And that sometimes I think about that and I feel a heaviness, a sadness, and I take a deep breath and I ask the question, what is the opportunity here? Because they're smart, they're wise, and they're looking for a solution, my friends. These kids, they a lot of times know a lot more than we do. They're a lot more connected, and they've gotten a lot more information in their relatively short lives than you and I did, right? They're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and there's some good information in there as well. So we must lift up or help to elevate the information that comes to our youth and then trust and have faith in them to guide us forward, because they're going to be they're the future. So my friends, I wanted to say hi. I hope you're having a fantastic day, a Braveheart day. Live in faith, live with courage, and live with presence. In fact, when you have presence, then you're good. You're just in the moment. You're observing, you're interacting with what is. And through that presence, your creative abilities, well, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. What do you want? What do you desire? Love and have a great day, everybody.